Hey everybody, it's Mitch with Burning Bush Nurseries. Going to teach you how to get the most out of your plants by teaching you the proper way to transplant clones. Now, one of the most common questions we get when we travel around and talk with people is, what do I do when I get this nice beautiful plant home to my garden? Well, first thing, you always want to make sure that your plant has nice beautiful white roots on it. That's key, which of course your burning bush plants always will. And when you get this plant home to your garden, we're going to transplant it. Very, very simple process. We're going to take a pot full of potting soil. Now, it's important that this soil be clean, washed soil. We don't want a lot of additives. We don't want any back guano, earthworm castings, any of that stuff. It's way, way too hot for our plants, and it could end up burning them. We want soil that's been washed, that's just simple, maybe cocoa fiber and perlite, something to help with the drainage. And that's really all a plant this young even needs. So we have our pot full of clean potting soil. We're going to get it wet with nice filtered water. You always want to filter your water, make sure there's no chlorine or sediment, dissolved solids still in the water, which is common in many municipalities. We also want to make sure that this water is pH'd at about 6, and that's going to help our plant absorb the full range of nutrients. Something I always like to do is I take an empty pot and pat down the soil. This is going to do a few things. For one, when the plant's roots begin to grow, they like nice tight spaces that they can push their way into, and that way they can grab a hold of water and nutrients much easier. And it makes the plant's odds of survival increase dramatically. So once our soil is all packed down, I'm just going to take my 2 fingers and push straight down into the soil and make a nice little divot about the size of the base of our plant. See, there's my nice little divot. We're going to take our plant. Oh, almost forgot one thing. I always like to add a little bit of root inoculant into the hole before we put the plant in, and this is going to do a few things. One, these are called mycorrhizae bacteria. It's beneficial bacteria, and it's going to help the root system absorb nutrients. What happens is these bacteria, they go off into the soil and they find nutrients and they come back to the roots, and they actually live on the roots. They have a symbiotic relationship with the roots. The roots provide them with nitrogen, and they provide the roots with other mineral nutrients that they find in the soil. So, can't even really see it because it's a dark clay, but trust me, it's in that hole right there. We're going to take our plant and we're just going to lightly tap it down into that hole, and then we're going to push all the soil down around it, and that's going to bring all the soil into that root system and give it a nice tight home. And it's always a good idea to label your plants as well. I don't have a label with me here today, but you always want to make sure you know what's in each pot, since obviously all plants look the same. So I would go ahead and put a label on it, maybe a little tab into the soil so that we know what we're dealing with here. But that's really all there is to it. We're going to take this plant, we're going to put it, if we're working indoors, we're going to put it underneath a high-intensity discharge lamp, maybe like a 1,000-watt high-pressure sodium bulb or a metal halide bulb. Both very good options for indoor growers. However, if you do plan on putting your clones outside, we always recommend that you acclimate them slowly to the sunlight. Sunlight is very, very intense, and most of the time rooted clones have been under fluorescent light, so that transition is sometimes too much for them to handle, and they stress out, and obviously we don't want that. So if you are planting outdoors, acclimate your plants slowly, a few hours every day, or maybe plant them in a shady area, and that's going to help you get the most out of your plant. Now, after about a month of being indoors, this tiny little plant is going to go from this to this. A nice, big, beautiful, robust teen plant. Now what do we want to do with it? Well, we want to put it into a bigger pot, because when a plant gets to be about this size, the root system wants to be as big as the plant is above ground. So imagine a root system this big all packed into this tiny little pot. I'm sure the plant itself is wanting a little bit more space. So we're going to give it that space. First thing we're going to do is fill up a large pot with soil. Now in this instance, it is okay to have additives in your soil, such as bat guano, earthworm castings, blood meal, bone meal, any of the stuff you find for sale at your local hydroponic store. You can also buy a potting mix that has all of that stuff already inside it. So then we're going to take our water, we're going to wet the surface of the soil just enough so that the soil stays in shape when we try to form it. That's enough. We're going to take another pot. We're going to push down as hard as we can onto that soil. Pack it down the same way we did when we were transplanting the clone. All nice and packed down there. And then we're going to carve out a deep hole into the center of the pot, just by pushing all the soil up against the sides of the pot. And that's going to give our teen plant a nice little hole to fall into. Alright. So our soil has been prepped and we are ready to transplant our teen. Now, this is the hard part for some people. Getting this plant out of this tiny little pot intact is truly a work of art, but it's actually a lot easier than most people believe it to be. The key is to just push on the bottom of the pot and break the soil away from the pot in such a way that the whole plant comes out in one piece. So I'm going to push, and the whole thing comes out in one solid piece like that. That's what we're looking for. You can see that the roots have grown all the way around that soil. That's a nice solid root structure right there. That's what you're looking for. And we're just going to very carefully land it into the hole that we carved out for it, and then push everything down so that when we're done, you can't even tell what was the soil that was in this pot and the soil that we just added in around the other teen. Just like that. And that's all there is to it. So now we're going to go take this plant, we're going to put it in our garden, we're going to put it outdoors, we're going to put it under 1,000-watt light, whatever you want to do with it. We're going to wait until October, or we're going to wait until the end of the indoor flower cycle, and we're going to have some decent cannabis. Well, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to check out the rest of our videos on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And always be sure to check out our website, www.burningbushnurseries.com, for more information on how you can get the most out of your plants.